John 8:6. Haec autem dicebant temptantes eum, ut possent accusare eum. Jesus autem inclinans se deorsum, digito scribebat in terra. And they were saying these things, testing him, in order that they might bring a charge against him. But Jesus, bending or leaning himself downward, was writing in the earth or on the ground with his finger. The confrontation between Jesus and some of the scribes and Pharisees who are accusing a woman caught in adultery continues in this verse. And we've got a couple of interesting things to note here, mostly related to participles. In the first case, temptantes, or really we should say temptantes eum, functions almost like a subordinate clause, almost like another purpose clause here. And this is a kind of thing that can happen from time to time in Latin. Participles are very powerful in the Latin language. They can accomplish a lot of different purposes, a lot of different functions, as in Greek. You'll find this also in Greek if you're reading New Testament Greek, or really the Greek of any period. So here, these two words by themselves give us a clue as to why these men are saying these things. They're saying them by way of testing or trying him, that is to say, in order to test him. And then we've got a true purpose clause, true in the sense that it follows the form we're more used to seeing, with ut plus a subjunctive verb. Now we want to note right away that this is an imperfect subjunctive that we have here, and you can tell because we've got something that looks like an infinitive, a present infinitive, plus a personal ending on it. That's the characteristic look of the imperfect subjunctive. And in the sequence of tenses, that ultimately follows on the historical tense, the past tense of dicebant. They were in the past in the process of saying these things at the same time with this purpose, that they might at that same time, that is, accuse him or bring a charge against him. Then we've got to punctuate this. Jesus autem, but Jesus, and here autem I think is adversative, whereas it may not be at the beginning here. It's sort of hard to tell as often. Inclinans se deorsum, bending himself downward, literally is what this means. Digito scribebat in terra. Here we've got an ablative of instrument or means. This is the means by which Jesus was writing on the ground in the dust, probably. And inclinans se deorsum is almost a little bit pleonastic. It's a little bit more fulsome than it needs to be. Probably we could just eliminate se deorsum and we could just have said inclinans digito scribebat in terra, because this at the end makes it clear what is meant by inclinans. But this is very often the case in the Vulgate, that most often following the Greek text, we get kind of more detail than strictly speaking we need to make sense of what we're seeing. So we get inclinans se deorsum, bending himself down at that moment. And that's just a typical use of a participle to indicate just kind of attendant circumstances. While bending himself downward, he began to write or was writing with his finger on the earth.